Hello and welcome. This BTEC Business Unit 6 Principles of Management video will give you an insight into the assessment and also tips on how to structure Activity 1 and Activity 2. Some information about the assessment. It is externally assessed, so it's marked by Pearson. The maximum amount of marks for this paper is 88, so 88 marks. The assessment consists of Part A and Part B. I will give you some more information later on in this video about Part A and Part B. And in this assessment, you will need to show that you understand the factors influencing management and performance of the workforce and how you can apply them in the workplace. Prior to your assessment, it's important that you have a good understanding of all of the topics that you have been taught for Unit 6. The Unit 6 assessment includes Part A and Part B. Part A. Part A consists of a case study. The case study will include a scenario. It will have data that you will need to analyze and evaluate. It's approximately 4 pages long. Your teacher will let you know what you need to do in regards to preparing for this test. You're advised to spend no longer than 6 hours on the case study in terms of your preparation. Preparation must be completed independently, and it's important that you read the case study carefully so it will help you prepare for Part B. Part B. The duration of your Unit 6 Principles of Management test is 3 hours. You will be supervised. You're not permitted to take any notes into this assessment, and you will work independently. Part B consists of Activity 1 and Activity 2. Activity 1, the report, is worth 44 marks, and Activity 2, the visual presentation with speaker notes that you need to produce, is also worth 44 marks. Activity 1, the report. You need to plan out the structure of your report. You should have headings. Your report should also have a conclusion and recommendations. If you're not sure how to structure a report, then wait towards the end of the video and then you will see a possible structure that you could use. You should in your report use management terminology, but do make sure that you use it correctly. Any theory that you've learnt from Unit 6, you should try and include that within your report, but it's got to be relevant. You should also make sure that you're referring to the case study, so you've got that context in there. Now, if you see in the case study anything about business goals, you should also refer and link back to the business goals. That should be in your report. Activity number 2, a visual presentation with speaker notes. The presentation should have approximately 5 slides. It should be structured. If you're not sure how to structure the presentation, then I will show you an example of how you can actually structure one a little later on in the video. You're not expected to spend time designing or adding color to your slides at all. Your slides will have bullet points. Now the explanation of your bullet points will be in the speaker notes. Your recommendations that you have should be developed and realistic, and they should also link to any business goals. So here's a possible layout that you might want to use for the report that you will need to produce for Activity 1. You might want to include an introduction and then identify an issue, have a recommendation for that. Then there might be another issue, have a recommendation for that, another one again, and a recommendation, and then finally a conclusion. Let's look at the introduction. The introduction might start off with the purpose of this report is to, and you'd explain in reference to the context, in reference to the question, what you're required to answer. Include brief background information about the company. Consider the company goals. The issue. You should identify the issue that's been found in the case study. What are the causes of this? Perhaps use data to highlight why this is an issue. How has this impacted on stakeholders? How does it link to any content that you've learnt? What impact does this issue have on any goals the company has? Identify any patterns in the data too. Is there a pattern in absenteeism, for example? Use relevant management terminology and consistently refer to the case study. Recommendations. You should state how the recommendation would help solve the issue. Ensure you explain using connectives. If you're not sure how to use connectives, how to analyze using certain words such as because and leads to, do check out this video. I will also put it in the description bar below. That will definitely help you. How will the recommendation help achieve any company goals that they may have? Link to the case study. You might want to use data and charts to back up your point. What other stakeholders could this impact on, and justify your recommendations? You need to strive to have a balanced conclusion. The conclusion should show that you have addressed how the issues could be overcome. How would this impact on the business? You could consider linking the company goals. What tools could help the business manage the recommendations that you've suggested, such as online courses, for example? Consider using the term "it depends on." So certain recommendations that you've mentioned, it could depend on how costly it would be. It could depend on the length of time, for example. Also key is that you mention alternative recommendations. So what are some recommendations that you didn't mention earlier on because there are quite a few disadvantages to it? That's also something to consider. This is a possible way to structure your slides for activity number 2. You might want to have 5 slides. First slide is introduction to the business and identifying the business goals. Slide 2 and 3, the key issues. Slide 4 might be the recommendations, and slide 5 the conclusion, or slide 4 might be the conclusion and slide 5 the recommendations, as long as you have a logical structure. Now you should consider analysing the current approaches that the business uses within your visual presentation. So it could be in regards to, obviously it depends on the question, but it could be in regards to the training and development that they're undertaking. So before you're making any recommendations, you should actually analyse the current approaches that the business uses. These are things that the examiner is looking for. And again, the alternative recommendations should be mentioned in your visual presentation. Throughout this presentation, you do need to ensure that you're making links to the case study and that you are using management terminology. Thank you for watching this video, and good luck in your studies.